Hi, I'm Rick, and this is a Tonic session here at Retail Now 2024. I'm joined today by my esteemed leader, Gary Liu, as well as Thomas Greenman from Skurla in Alaska. Let me start off by giving the mic to Thomas to talk a little bit about his background in Skurla's, and then we'll have Gary and then go into some discussions.
Sure. I'm Thomas Greenman. I'm president of Skurla's Point of Sale Solutions. We've been in business since 1976. So we're based in Alaska. Alaska is a very different market than most other markets. In a lot of ways, we're kind of like a different country. We're really interesting people, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Gary, give us a little bit about your background.
My background, boy, I came from the restaurant industry and found a point of sale company by accident in the 90s, late 90s, and then stumbled upon payments, and here we are.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, one thing I'll ask first about the Alaska market, I know it is a different market, very seasonal, right?
Very seasonal, very seasonal. I'd almost I use an analogy a lot about a bear. I'm like, the bear is asleep during the wintertime. He gets up, he eats a lot of stuff, and then he's busy. And then in the wintertime, he goes back to sleep. So a lot of our stuff is tourism based. Obviously, nobody's really coming to Alaska during the wintertime. So summertime is kind of like where we've got all our bread and butter. So our sales cycles are very high in the spring and very high in the fall. Kind of living with that bear kind of mentality. It's actually pushed me to actually adopt the bear as our mascot. So on our new logo, we've got the bear. I'm like, that's us.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I come from originally from Philadelphia. And so my point of sale business, my reseller business back in the day, we had a lot of the Jersey coast, the Jersey shore. Being from Philly, it's down the shore. Everybody else calls it the beach. But we had a lot of customers there, and it's the same thing. In that world, it is you start your sales cycle in about February. You have to sell and close business by late March or so. You install a couple weeks before Memorial Day, and then they do, $10 million a week for the summertime, and then Labor Day comes and they're closed, and that's it. So yeah, it's interesting watching the seasonal businesses.
So if Philadelphia had a mascot, what would it be?
In Philly, we have a lot of mascots. We've got the Philly Fanatic, who is world renowned, and we've now got Gritty. And everybody hated Gritty when he came out, and now everybody loves him because he is an exact representation of Philadelphians, which, good or bad, that is what it is.
I've seen Gritty on social media.
Yeah.
So I've not seen Gritty.
No?
So
Big orange guy?
What sport is Gritty involved in?
Flyers, hockey.
I got you.
And so Gritty's famous for, like, a 4-year-old kid will come up and hand him a hat to autograph, and he'll take the hat and he'll take the Sharpie and he'll throw the hat and walk away.
Nice.
Somewhat like some of the players in our market, right? They slam the trunk and squeal the wheels and get out, and never to be heard from again. That's Gritty.
Philadelphia.
So these restaurant retailers in Alaska, you said they're seasonal.
Yeah.
Do they actually close their store for 6 months, or how's that work?
Some of them do. So some of them are strictly seasonal entities only, and then some of them stay around all year long. So it's almost kind of like one of those things, probably in Philadelphia, same thing, where during the summertime, you're probably not going to see locals in the restaurant. But in the wintertime, that's where they'll come back, and they're drinking beer, they're having a good time. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where a lot of tourism, and then there's people who, that's their bread and butter all year round for the most part. Like, it's like tourists for part of the year, locals for the rest.
Let's have you talk a little bit about your podcast, because I've listened a few times now. Really interesting. Listened to the one with you and Travis Hare a few weeks ago. So tell us a little bit about it and how it came about.
So which one? I'm on 3.
You're Not My Father's podcast? Is that?
Oh, yeah. So You're Not My Father. It kind of ended up being something that my kids kind of pushed me into. So I do music. When I say I do music, it's not a professional thing. I like to play guitar. I just like the industry and whatnot. And so my daughter came up. She's like, we should do a podcast. I was like, how do you know about podcasts? She's like, that's what people talk about. And I was like, okay. So we kind of got into it. And I have these moments in my mind now where it's much more of an evolved kind of thing. But back then it was just a way that me and the kids could kind of get together and do something fun. But now it's much more of it's a podcast where, like, I'm trying to, like, impart fatherly wisdom and kind of preserve it for people. So, like, growing up, my dad was always off about, he was in the military, he was law enforcement. I didn't get to see him that much. So there was a lot of things in my life that I just didn't know what to do. Like shaving, for example. I learned how to shave by watching Lethal Weapon 2. So I was like, oh, so against the grain, right? Oh, okay. So, there's generations of people out there who don't have the family lives that we really want. I guess my podcast is kind of fulfills like that niche of like, I'm going to try to give you some really good information. I'm going to try to make you laugh. And by the end of it, hopefully you've gotten something out of it. But I really try to delve into subjects where maybe they're just too afraid to talk to somebody like a male mentor. Maybe they don't have one. So it's kind of like a repository for that kind of knowledge. And then two, I want to leave something for my kids. Like if for some reason something happens to me later on down the road, because we're not here forever, like I want them to have something to remember me by, like whatever I was thinking. So I used to keep a journal. And at one point I had a journal online, and I felt like it was just better to, see, hear like what their father sounded like. And then two, like I really wanted to know my grandfather. I never knew any of my grandfathers. I never got a chance to see him. And it's something that's like, I still want to know them, and, hopefully, in heaven, I'll see them, but
Leaving a legacy.
yeah, I want to leave a legacy. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And I want to help people. And as long as one person's listening, I'll keep doing it. Admittedly, though, in the summertime, I run out of time, and sometimes I just have to wait and do it more in the wintertime. So that's kind of like the whole bear thing. The bear's too busy in the summertime. We're going to wait until he's sleepy, and then he starts talking.
Right. Right.
Sounds like you're very passionate about the topic, and it actually is a passion of mine too to become a better father. I'm a father of 4, and similarly, when I grew up, my father wasn't really around, so I didn't have the role model to show me what a good father is. So, so there's yes, great resources out there. I'm interested in listening to your podcast because years ago there was a podcast I had found called 5-Minute Fatherhood. That was really cool. I don't think they do that anymore, but it was really cool. There's some great books out there like Intentional Father. There's some other ones. So that's exciting.
I wouldn't say I'm very academic with it. I feel like a lot of my stuff is really kind of casual information. Some people are like, hey, I appreciate you being vulnerable. I'm like, just being honest, like this is what's going on in my life. This is how I'm dealing with it. This is my story.
Yeah. Fatherhood is hard. I'm sure Rick knows.
Yeah. I mean, it's great hearing other people's take on that. Similarly, I was in the same position, didn't saw my father maybe a couple times a year growing up. I did have a grandfather that was my role model, and so that's a huge piece of who I am today. But yeah, constantly thinking about all of that with the kids, and as they grow, like, and how fast that happens. Like I always tell people, don't blink. Right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're graduating high school and off to the races.
Happens so fast.
Sure does.
It does. Yeah. They don't teach you that stuff in school either, how to be a good father.
Yeah. And I think it's something that is just missing in society in general. I think guys typically are not really going to talk about their feelings. They're kind of rough and gruff and macho and stuff like that. It's rewarding to hear another man talk about their struggles, things that they've done to kind of help their lives be better. And I want to, like, if my advice helps anybody, like that's what it's about.
I was talking to Colin Martin from Vigilix, and one of the things we were talking about is sort of the humanity of our business, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of businesses that are business only, and it's not about that. But, we get to know people. We get to know our partners, as individuals, as families. I think that's a whole different level of emotional intelligence in a partnership and in a business than you see in a lot of other places.
Yeah, I've learned so much through our RSPA. Like there's so many male mentors that I have here. I mean, I love coming to these conferences because it's not just business stuff, it's personal stuff.
Yeah.
I get to know people, and they give me advice, they give me wisdom. And then also I feel like I'm being held to a higher standard too. Like I feel like in a ways, like they're my collective fathers pushing me to be the better version of myself.
And if I may, you had a great female role model as well, because Lynn Skurla, one of the best role models I've seen. She was Madam Chairperson, I think, at the time. She was amazing. She's just a great human being, and I love seeing her enjoying retirement and doing all the things they're doing.
I can't thank her enough. I mean, she gave me opportunities. She pushed me. I mean, in a lot of ways, I kind of felt like her son. in so many different ways. I still looked at her for inspiration. So many lessons that I've learned from her. You know, she's very keen on pushing information to me. You know, she's very vulnerable in sharing what she was experiencing. And so I feel like I'm better prepared for the future highway of life because I know these things are coming because she shared it with me. She told me about it and she tried to prepare me. Like her husband's attorney, he was like, you need to have a will. Like, oh no, I don't. No, you do.
You do, yeah.
And let me tell you why. And I'm so thankful for her. I love her so much. She's an amazing person.
Yeah, it's great. We were kind of going back through the last 20 years. This is my 20th retail now, joined in 2004. And one of the things, a constant recurring theme of this week for me has been all of the people that, you know, came before us in the RSPA and, you know, John Skurla and like all of the ICRDA and all that.
Yeah.
But when I look back, all of the leaders and the people who were on the board back in the early day, my early days of the RSPA, they're all mentors, but they're all friends as well. And so seeing them around here, and some of them have retired and moved on, and unfortunately some of them have passed on, but they're all part of me now.
That's one of the things I really like. I want to talk to the old veterans because I don't want that knowledge to die. I want to assimilate that. You know, it's kind of like balancing, you know, the road to the future is obviously paved with the past, but you can't throw it away. You know, you have to kind of use that, but it's blending all that type of stuff and making your own path. I was really saddened whenever we heard Ann Maynard passed away, Steve Kuntz. I mean, there was so much more that I could have gotten out of them. And I mean, it sounds selfish in a way, but like they were just amazing people. They were so educated, informed, and just really good people. And Anne, bless her heart, she was just
The light of the organization.
Everybody was like a kid to her, and she was like the mother to everybody else. And it was beautiful.
Looking back, hindsight, I was glad to have spent time with Steve at VersiTech last year. On the last night at the event, I went and spent some time with him. And looking back,
yeah, don't blink.
Right.
Don't blink.
You know, you guys talk about mentors. It was about 15 plus years ago, I started having mentors come into my life, both personally and professionally. I tell you, it's a game changer. I went through the first, you know, I don't know, through my 20s, I guess, without any mentors.
You knew everything, though.
Oh, yeah. I was the smartest guy in the world. I knew it all. I got a couple black eyes from it, you know, a couple kicks in the growing, but hey, you learn from it. So,
right.
It's one of the lines. If you're the smartest guy in the room, find another room.
Exactly. Exactly. I heard that. Yeah. When my ex-business partner from Hot Sauce, that was a tip that he gave my business partner, his dad. Yeah. So, yeah, having mentors, both personally and professionally. You talked about transparency, Thomas. I've learned to do that as well over the last 15 years. I'm a part of a men's group, business owners men's group, that we get together and we're very transparent with each other and what's going on. Because, you know, we just all need, plus maybe someone's been there and done that, you know, dealing with the adversities that I'm currently dealing with, whether it's personally, both professionally, whether it's about marriage, fatherhood, about business or business partnership. And they may not have all the answers, but sometimes it's like, hey, don't do that because I did that and it didn't work.
I remember one of my most famous piece of advice, and I'm now trying to remember who it was. I'll come up with it. It was at an RSPA show, and his advice was when hiring salespeople, when I was a reseller, and he said, what you want to do is you want to bring him in for an interview around 10:15, 10:30 in the morning, right? And at the end of your interview, you know, you want to invite them to lunch. If you think you're moving forward with them, you want to invite them to lunch, because what sales guy is not going to take a free lunch? There is such a thing as a free lunch, and this guy's going to get it. And his advice was, you're going to then mention to him, oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot. My car is in the shop. We need to take your car. He's like, because you can tell a lot about a person by their car. And I had this happen. And we went down to his car, and his back seat was completely filled with trash, like a lot of McDonald's and Wendy's trash and all of this. And he said, you know, if somebody can't keep their car in decent shape, they're probably not going to keep their sales life in great shape either. So
sounds very true.
Good advice.
Lots of good advice that came out of this room. That's one of the memorable ones.
Yeah. Whenever we do hiring, we typically will invite somebody out to lunch. A lot of times we try to be just really open with them. Like, it's a two-way street. We want this relationship to work. It needs to work for you. It needs to work for me. And if it's not, let's not waste each other's time. Maybe I don't put it that bluntly, but it's one of those things where it's got to work. And if, you're better off somewhere else if this is not the place for you.
Every partnership, every relationship this morning has to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
You said it this morning best.
I'll keep driving those streets.
Yeah. Well, we are at a retail now. How many of you attended, Thomas?
It's just me and my business partner, Jesse. We're a small company, so we can't really, I would love to bring our entire staff. That would be amazing. But, I'm very thankful for them to be back in Alaska, holding down the fort, taking care of our customers. We try to split up kind of duties. I'm on the board. So and I'm very thankful for that position for a lot of things. So for a small company, we need all the help that we can get. So being able to be shoulder to shoulder with some of the finest minds in the industry is incredibly valuable for us. And I did a presentation on change today, and really kind of one of the things I was talking about is like, I don't think that companies my size can afford to stay shoulder to shoulder with people anymore. We have to kind of be adventurous and look at new stuff, go out in new territory, and not really rely on our peers. But again, kind of like what I was talking about before, like that road's kind of built with that history, but you need to go out and look at new stuff instead of relying on what everybody else is doing, because change is happening too quick now. Like you got to anticipate it more. You've got to jump out there and go for it. And so I'm thankful that I'm here. I'm in the position I'm in to be able to bring that knowledge and assimilate it and really kind of focus our strategies on what's going to work and seeing this stuff way ahead of time or just in time in some cases.
So how many years is this for you?
RSPA?
Yes.
I think my first RSPA event was 2010. It was in Vegas.
Okay.
It was at Mandalay Bay. I came for a training session with Bob Bauer.
Okay.
And so I was working in the service department, and it was all about service. It was like, I called it the service gold class because I was like, this is gold. This is everything about this was gold. And honestly, before that event, I wasn't too sure if I was going to be in this industry. I have a long background in IT, and somehow or another, this was like, okay, well, it's specialized. It's not really general IT, which is what I was doing. And when I came to the show, I was like, wow, there's much more to this world than just this little fraction of what we're doing in Alaska. And I love the education. I love that Bob was so willing to just give us information, spreadsheets, all this other stuff. I'm like, I can't believe this. That really kind of started me on a path of like, I kind of want to do this. And it's been a hurricane since. Just keep on going.
The mind share is phenomenal. Like that's the best part.
It literally is beautiful. My wife used to work in home healthcare. She's an accountant, and they were having problems navigating that world. I was like, you need an RSPA. You need an organization like this. And I don't want to say that I was right. I feel bad that they didn't make it, but I feel like RSPA is so empowering. I honestly, I feel like if we didn't have RSPA, we'd have been out of business years ago. Totally.
Number one, thank you for your service on the board. I served a 3-year term from 2017 to 2020. Was amazing to be able to give back after all those years, and it's great experience. So before the loud music starts playing here at the Grammys or Emmys to chase us off, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. Thomas, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it.
It's our pleasure. It's always a pleasure to hang out on a Talk Tonic with Gary.
First time for me, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll have you back many more times.
All right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.